tree clinic board meeting with 3 pictures on the wall, because if you look closely, you'll see Rita Star Pattern, who is also up in the University Y and started Women in Their Work. And then there's Bill Meacham is on the board, and Lynn Smith. And then right next to it is Peter Davis, who was writing for the RAG and also being a patient at the tree clinic. So it's just how interwoven everything was. And then many of the same people, RAG staffers and others, were in the Berkholz Memorial Grill Theater. And the people that were involved with the RAG were involved in so many other movements, issues, efforts, all over Austin. You know, people that are taking out their trash in the morning have to remember that was a few people with 55-gallon drums. I think it was at 24th and Rio Grande behind some bar, and people could leave their glass and aluminum and other things there. It became ecology action, and then the city took over. And then the free clinic itself is a huge ongoing operation now. When it used to be just people on mattresses on the floor of the basement in the Congregational Church on 23rd Street. But the RAG existed, you know, a civil rights movement, and then it moves into the anti-war movement. And every liberation movement. So you've got the Brown Berets, and the big march in '74 after several East Side youth were killed by the police. So these issues are ever with us. And Community United Front had their headquarters on East 1st Street, and they had, among other things, anti-draft information. They had a school. Then they were in the basement. Well, not the basement, the University Y, when it was in a beautiful building, 2200 Guadalupe on the corner. It's now the Scientology building, because the YN people foolishly tore it down and built this building and couldn't get enough money to pay the mortgage. But before that, in 1969, the Breakfast for Children's program was operating out of the Y. They had a kitchen, and here's Steve Russell, I think maybe just going to law school, driving children to and from the Breakfast for Children's program in a Carmen Ghia. What an accident waiting to happen. But it didn't happen. So now, of course, Steve Russell is Judge Russell, and Professor Russell, and now is retired Mr. Russell. And then Keith, if he's still here, he was selling a rag on the drag. There he is, right back there in the blue shirt, with his daughter and his friend there. So Keith was a great salesperson of the rag, and ran this picture on the cover of the rag, and then all of a sudden he vanished. And it was because he had a crush on the cookie salesman on the drag, and went out to Hippie Hollow and got picked up by the police. And so his mother or his aunt decided he had to get out of Austin because he was going to get in trouble saying to Chicago. But I didn't know all of that, so one day Keith no longer is here. I didn't know. But then he had a legal problem, a legal dispute, and the lawyer had that copy of the rag, and he saw the picture and said, "That's me, that's me." And so I forget Howard. What's his name?
Yeah, Howard.
Derek Howard.
Derek Howard.
Derek Howard.
The lawyer called me up and got us all back together again. So that's how he could be here. But the one thing about the rag that I learned, it was an anarchist in the best sense of the word. You know, the best sense of the word of anarchy is not chaos. That's how people think of it. Anarchy is the ability of people to work together without having a supreme ruler. So in the rag, there was no editor. We did everything by consensus. It was a collective. So every Wednesday night, we would read everything that might go into the rag, and then people would decide what they wanted to run and who was going to edit it. And then someone would be pressed into being the coordinator, and they would have the list of everything that had to be done. You know, because we're laying out these pages, and it's 4 pages to a plat, and then we had to copy it with graphic arts film, and then at the printer they burn that onto aluminum and run it off on an offset press. But in the meantime, everybody's working on their own separate page by hand, and you've got to get the graphics, and you've got to get the ads, and everything, and the coordinator has to be continually moving around, making sure everything is happening on time, and you wouldn't have the same coordinator on every issue. So what it worked out is everybody had to learn how to do everything. So even I, as little as I wanted to do it, was a coordinator of an issue. I like to stick with my specialty, photography. But, I'd lay out a page. If I was someplace and I was the only person to do it, I would have to write the story of what happened, as well as take the pictures and lay out the page and everything else. So as a consequence, everyone who worked on the rag was able independently to then go out and start a newspaper that they wanted to or had to. And that is remarkable. Nowadays we think of it such, everyone's so highly specialized, they can only do their part. But being a part of a collective like this, where the jobs were always rotating, and you could do any of them, and you might be forced to do something you didn't want to do, but you'd learn how to do it. And then there you were, because it happened to me. I helped the Split Rail Collective produce a whole newspaper of the ongoing labor problems. And I could explain to them every step of the process. And I was the coordinator of the issue. So then you had the remarkable Smith sisters, Lolly and Linda and Judy, and their mother, and have most of them in that picture. But then Judy Smith, as we all know, was a force of nature in a powerhouse. And besides sort of single-handedly starting up and made women's liberation functional, and was a big force on the rag, and was a big force for women's rights and reproductive rights. And that wonderful picture of Judy on the payphone, remember payphones? In the hallway right outside at the University Y, because people would call up, and this was before and during Roe versus Wade, when abortion was illegal, and they were giving people and women advice on how to get an abortion illegally, or how to get to Mexico, or how to get somewhere. And Antonio, and this was, they could be arrested at any moment for any of these conversations. And they had a little, almost not much larger than a phone booth office that was built inside the rag office to do counseling with women. And I'll never forget one time I had to answer the phone, and this woman was in highly distress and was asking me all about vacuum aspiration and dilation and curettage. And I was explaining to her the differences and the pluses and minuses of either procedure. And all of a sudden she stopped and said, "Why do you know all this stuff?" I said, "Because I work on the rag newspaper and you have to know all this stuff. It's part of the job." And so you'll see I'm wearing a gas mask in one picture because there was something happened at the LBJ library. Some window was broken, and they chased everybody across the university campus towards the rag, and the police were throwing gas canisters the whole way. And so by the time they got to the university co-op, there was this big cloud of tear gas rolling down the street. And so I, having been in the Army and stolen the gas mask, had it. So I went into my dark room and just put it on. And then
and then you sat down to lay out a page for IUDs.
Yes, I'm laying out a page on IUDs, intrauterine devices. And so that's true, because I had to read the copy, every article that ran in the rag, I had to read it as part of the collective. And so I knew all this stuff. And so then, again, the free clinic and all the people that were involved in it, and it was started by a couple of psychiatrists who saw the need for people on the street, particularly young people that were traveling across America all the time and had no health services. And then from that effort, it grew into what it is today. And then the production on the rag, Danny Schweers, who I wish was here, he got very interested in graphic arts reproduction and learned every part of the process. We got a copy camera when Red River Women's Press went under because of the flood. And then we were photographing our own pages. And then Danny, when computers took over, learned every part of that process as well. So, and then there's one picture, I wish I had it here, of Frances Martin playing the piano at the one night dive on Brazos Street in Round 8, because she's playing the piano at the Catholic Student Center in one picture, and then singing for the bus driver's strike in another. And now, of course, Frances is with the Melancholy Ramblers, among other things. And so, you know, some things just continue rolling on and don't stop. And that's the other thing about the RAG and the RAG staff, all the people that work on it. There's a lot of people that want to say that everything that happened in the 70s was just, you know, cultural radicalism. This part of generally what was happening in one big party and, you know, sex and drugs and rock and roll. Well, there's plenty of sex and drugs and rock and roll, but there are also a lot of serious thought and serious commitment, and the people that understood what they were doing and weren't just only sort of victims or participants in the zeitgeist of the moment, you know, who really saw the big picture, never quit, never stopped. And that's why we're here today. You know? To not only to celebrate what we did in the 60s and 70s, but to say we've carried it forward and should be connected to the other people, you know, also who are working today and making things better. That's all. I'm really serious. I wish I had a sheet of paper under every photograph so you can say, oh yeah, that's that person and this person. Because like in this picture, I only know Phil Prim and Richard Croxdale. I don't know the names of any of the other people. Stuff like that. So feel free to find yourself a sheet of paper and write up anything you'd like to tell me.
Yeah, I like that. So,